Greetings. Greetings, everyone. This morning's talk will be given by Meredith, Myoun, McIntosh, and it will be titled Seeing Between the Lines. We'll invite Tejo to chant for the opening of the sutra. Seems like maybe there's some technical delay there at the Zendo.
To go ahead and chant it.
Anne, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Could you go ahead and open the sutra? Tejo's busy with something at the moment.
Okay. An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teachings. And now we'll have a reading of the Dana statement.
Good morning. Thank you, Anne. In Buddhism, when practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is offered freely as a practice of dana paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return. This is the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice dana are to offer support to those who share the teachings, to support places of spiritual practice, and to give without judgment or expectation when opportunities arise. Those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a dana basis. Please support their practice by giving what you can. And Meredith, please let me know where we can send dana, and I'll put that information into the chat. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Sorry. We are juggling here. Wow.
A lot of feedback.
No, I'm not. Yeah, but I need to.
Ask them if they can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are they responding? That means they can't.
Yes, we can. I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes,
Can you
can you
hear
hear me?
us? Yeah. Can you hear us?
There we go. Can you hear us?
We hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody. The address for me, Trey,
You need to
is
turn the audio off on the fans.
yeah, we have a big echo here.
That's because the speakers on this is turned on and that shouldn't be.
Okay. It makes me sound like the Wizard of Oz, so I don't mind that too much, but thank you. The address is 157 Stewart, Stewart, Gap Road, Asheville 28804. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. I appreciate seeing some faces I know and some I don't. So that's great. Seeing between the lines, I think is another way to say that is paying attention at any moment and switching from our normal, well, I mean, depends on who you are, but typically we morph into pointed beings. We have we're at one spot and then we have a goal. So we just have our mind or our view on the goal, and all the bits in between sort of get lost in that pointed notion of I'm going to get this done, or here's the goal. And what I like to remind myself of, and all of us, is that we are in every moment from A to B. So why not include all those moments as we go? I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have an idea and a process to carry out that idea into action, but just all the times that we are working toward that are also our lives. And specifically, I wanted to talk about eyes and our seeing and our mind. And our mind actually is in our brains, and our brains are what give signals to all of the mechanical bits of us. So without the brain, we aren't seeing and we aren't interpreting and we aren't moving. So I actually wanted to look at and a little bit inform a little bit more clearly our eyes and our viewing and our look at things, with the understanding that our brain, mind in the brain, is actually allowing us to see through our mechanical setup, which is our eyeballs in our skull and nerves and blood and all of that. So if you would, even just now, notice yourself looking at your screens and see if you can't think of a little bit wider experience of yourself looking at the screen. And think about the fact that your eyes, the actual eyeball, is fairly big, and it's set in there inside our skull. And then from there, even behind that opening in the skull, go the nerves and into the brain. So if we really maybe just touch the back of your head and think, just kind of experience that all the way back on the inside of your skull, in your brain, is where you're seeing from. So why don't we do a kind of a multi-direction? So I want you to be touching the back of your head and then just pointing to your screen and letting yourself experience the space between way back here and your mind and your brain, your eyeballs way in the socket and nerve-wise connecting back here, and your screen. So then just take a breath there and notice that distance. And for you, you guys have lots of distance between you to the opposite wall in the room. Now, when you bring your arms back down, try to see if you can allow that space and that experience in yourself in relation to what you're doing now, which is looking at a computer screen. So we can bring in a liveliness in this very activity with our eyes. And our relationship to our environment, behind, to the side, above, and that distance in our eyes. And now I want to guide us through, and you don't have to necessarily look right at your screen for this. We're going to, let's see, something happened. Can you see me?
They can still see you.
You can still see me. Okay, good. So again, let our eyes, our mind and the brain, back of the skull, look out even beyond your screens into your room. And I want you to notice something across the room.
Yes.
You can just notice what your eyes land on. And take a little dance or a little knowledge of the shape of whatever you've decided to look at the moment. Just go around the edges and maybe a little above what you're looking at, with soft motion between one and another, and maybe a little dance your eyes down and a little below what you're looking at. And breathe. And then maybe a little to the left of what you chose. And back to the place, and then to the right just a bit. And see if you can't let your eyes be moving, or just notice how they're moving. And then we're going to let our eyes go left to right as far as they can without straining. And so before you sweep left and right, let's just notice colors and light. Just take in your whole environment here. And the distance between you and what you're seeing. And take your eyes for a little walk to the left, over all the objects that they encounter, and over the surfaces between objects, so that you're noticing every little bit of what your eyes are traveling, the environment your eyes are traveling through. So you're going left, and then let them come back to the right again, noticing objects and space in between, colors, darknesses, lightnesses, and come back to center. Notice how your head will naturally follow what your eyes are leading you toward. So this time we're going to the right. We're just going to be noticing again colors and shapes and space in between. And then as your eyes move, your head will move. Breathing, noticing space, foreground and background as you sweep to the right. It's kind of like your eyes are a little dog sniffing along, sniffing every little thing along, and we'll come back to the center, letting your eyes really see what is there. breathing, and coming to center. We'll try it one more time. This time, let's pretend we have a nose feather, a kind of long nose feather. So it's coming out from your nose and it's going to be dusting or touching all of the things that come as we sweep left. Space, shapes, colors, and different degrees of light and darkness. And then when you're ready, you can sweep back. Your mind and your brain, eyes in the socket, nerves, back behind your head. Notice the quality that your eyes are in when you're sweeping back. Do they jump from thing to thing? Or are they a little bit softer now? We'll go passing through neutral to the and then to the right. And see how easily they can move along in their environment with your nose feather, with your little dog sniffing, and really letting yourself experience your environment in this way. And then come back to center when you're at your own time. So let me just ask you a few questions and you can either answer them out loud or just answer them based on your experience. Did your eyes hop from object to object? Did they stop and look at something a little more intently and then move on? Did the second time bring you a little bit more liveliness and openness to the unexpected, to appreciating space between, and maybe noticing more fully color and shape and size, light and dark? And I'm going to let you do that one more time at your own pace, and then come back to center. Just noticing your head, neck, shoulders, breathing, back of your head, your eyes. And now we'll do another when you're back. We'll do the other direction of looking down in front of us, but all the places that are coming into view as we go from neutral down and maybe to the floor and across the floor, coming close to you. Noticing everything in between, the same thing. And from the back of your head, mind and your brain. So bring them close to you and then back out across from whatever expanse and objects they fall on. Back to neutral and then up. Your eyes are going to go up and then your head will follow. The back of your head is seeing, that's where your seeing is from. And then back to neutral. Noticing all the little objects, shapes and size and spaces, light and dark and colors. And on your own timing, do that again, tracing the line down and toward you with your eyes in your head, back of your head, and then back to neutral, straight forward and back up. And back to neutral. So if anyone would like to comment on that, you're welcome to.
I have a comment.
Okay,
I don't know if you can
Priscilla,
hear me.
Ask if they can hear you, because this speaker should pick you up.
Can you hear me?
can you hear Priscilla?
Okay. I was just maybe entertained by how I can see these gongs in front of me, how I could really go inside the gong, you
Mhm.
know, how much, maybe because I'm familiar with them, I know what the inside looks like, but
Mhm.
it's amazing what we can do with our minds,
Mhm.
where we can go, what we can feel.
Yes, and what can be unknown if we're not awake to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What I noticed is that, you always mention to us to first let our eyes go and then, let our body follow it. But doing this exercise really helped me really get into that. And I noticed that I was doing it very naturally because you started with the eyes. And
Yes,
so I started with the eyes.
yes,
And I've always been able to do it, but not before you tell me.
yes, yes,
So this is, this would be a good thing for me to practice, just following, just letting my eyes lead me various places.
right. And really seeing. I think that's what helps the eyes to be
Yeah.
lively, is to allow for a full information into our experience. Anybody else have anything to say?
I was kind of amazed at how much there is to see here.
Yes,
I walk by all the time and move things around, but I don't really experience the whole scene. That was kind of amazing to me.
right, yes, good, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, kind of similarly, I'm in my room, which I'm in every day, a lot of the day, and just like taking the time to kind of, like, I really liked what you said about imagining like a dog sniffing and just kind of letting my eyes be curious and go where they want to go. It's realizing like, wow, like there is so much to see, and just in this, even in this space that I'm often in. And just feeling gratitude for like how much information I take in on a daily basis without even consciously realizing it. And also
Mhm.
which was also kind of a reminder of like, okay, I probably need to sit more and like be and then and take time to like just be processing and just letting things be. 'Cause
Mhm.
I'm always
Yeah,
receiving.
yes, good, yeah,
Meredith, I was going to say that this reminds me very much, the exercises, of something I did when I was taking drawing classes. Contour drawing, it was called, where we might have drawn a hand, for example, to start out with, and it looks kind of like those that you do in elementary school or kindergarten, where you trace out the outline of your hand and it forms, a turkey for Thanksgiving or something like that. And
right,
it's a symbol for what the thing is. It's what we think it is, and in our minds, maybe that's how it looks. But then if you start to really go along the edges very carefully, and you're not looking at your hand, but you're looking at your hand, but you're not looking at your paper, and you're just moving the pencil according to what you're seeing.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to me that that kind of exercise can actually make it appear as it really is. A
Yeah.
much more realistic way than the symbol that we might have been drawing before. So the contour drawing is very similar to this in terms of
Yes.
perception. So connecting me with all of that.
And you know, there's so many times we hear phrases in our Dharma teachings as life as it is, or, you know, accepting things as they are. And that, you know, this is a kind of visceral, experiential experience of those words, life as it is. I mean, this is the way it is, and we have choices if we remind ourselves that we can be more fully contouring our lives, that we're really seeing things as they are and experiencing things as they are. So all this is on various levels. We are our Dharma, you know. So that's
wanted
great.
To say one other thing. You started out early on. You said you used the phrase, which just seemed so amazing, dance your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me realize, because I kind of tried to, I mean, I kind of had that there while I was looking around, made me aware that in everyday life, my eyes are always on a mission. They don't have that freedom. And it's kind of an amazing thing to think about, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And that choice is there, and it's a matter of remembering. If we can remember, oh yeah, let me see, let me really see, it's going to be there. So it's kind of a fun thought, you know. It's a matter of remembering and choosing to live that way. It doesn't take longer to walk from one end of your room to the other while you're having, you know, while you're walking in this kind of way, you know, the way we're using our eyes at the moment.
I had one other comment.
Yeah.
Speaking of dance, I actually didn't hear those words that Anne mentioned, but I was thinking this would be a great exercise to do before a dance party.
Mm,
You know,
yeah,
you
right.
know, everybody sort of being spatially aware and
Exactly.
the Buddha boogie, and
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe a session event.
Yeah, that's good.
It has happened. It
Session
is not
dance party.
unprecedented.
So what I'd like to do now is just have us stand up, and while you do that, let your eyes see your changing environment. Things have to happen. You're going to be looking down or then going across in order to stand up. So let's all, as best we can, let our eyes, our mind, and our brain, from the back of the skull, in this same lively way, see what is changing, see what is happening, see the contour of this environment sitting to standing. Oh, so now how do I do this?
Well, they can see you there now.
Oh, okay, okay, good. And I can step up here?
Yes, I mean, you can see yourself, right?
Yeah, I see myself.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. All right. Where did everybody else go? That's not the same.
They're standing up.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. All right, and so just take a little, just moment. We're gonna be looking, we're going to be seeing our internal selves from our eyes. And so what I want you to do is think about, you're just going to be looking out at whatever from the back of your head. And maybe let's just reach a arm out again, just to make some space behind us and in front of us. Yeah. And then just bring your arms down and close your eyes now. Sense your feet on the ground. So if you need to have something nearby to touch for balance, that's fine. But we're going to sense our eyeballs in our sockets and going through our skull into nerves and brain, the mind and the brain inside the skull. And now I want you to let your eyes talk to, let's have your eyes talk to your left, the top of your left arm, or your left, I don't want to say shoulder, but just the top of your left arm. And just sense the space between there. And sense, when I said that, did you kind of jump down there? Or did you let from your brain, from your eyes, just expand to that space of your left shoulder? And then let it bounce back up to your eyes. Or I don't mean to say bounce back up, but let that space kind of come back to your eyes. And then let's expand the space from your eyes to your right shoulder. And then back up to eyes and mind and skull. And then let your eyes expand the distance between them and your lower ribs. And see if you can't let your eyes expand in the front and also to the back of your lower ribs. So that you're seeing with that distance. And maybe take a breath there and notice the experience of your ribs moving up and down with the breath from that distance of your eyes. And then come back up, joining just with the eyes. And then we're going to let our eyes expand into the distance between them and the top of your hips. Or just say your hips. A little below your navel. And then back up with your eyes, mind in the brain, in the skull. And then we're going to expand from mind in the brain, the eyes down, expanding that distance down to the knees, front, sides, back, all around. And then back up. And then from your mind and your brain and eyes, let it expand down to your ankles and feet. And then just from your feet all the way up to your eyes and your mind and your brain. but all of you. Let's open our eyes, see what you see with your whole brain and feet. And now let your eyes do their little nose feather, or let your little dog sniff around and lead you into a walk. It doesn't matter what direction, but let's let the quality be starting with the eyes and the mind and the brain, like we did when we were sitting. So as you are actually turning, your whole environment changes. What do you see? What colors, what lights and darknesses, and distance and space in between the things out there, and also in between you and what it is that you're experiencing. And then your internal relationships between eyes and knees, and eyes and shoulders, or eyes and hips as you walk around. And see what happens if you pick up the pace a little bit. Maybe the telephone rang, or maybe you remember the pot on the stove. What happens to your attention? And what can you notice in your environment as it changes? And as you can pause or go ahead, stop and start. And then we'll add one more little game, which is when you're moving forward, notice what is moving back behind you, how your environment is going past and behind you when you're moving forward. And then if you want to change your direction and move backwards, how is your environment going the opposite direction? And if you happen to have the ability to look out a window, see what's beyond the room, and see that every step you take changes your environment, what you see. And when you're ready, you can come back to your sitting. Again, when you change levels from standing to sitting, what do you pass by? What is that like? By using your eyes. All right. Any comments with that? Any other?
It's very soothing and calming when you can slow down and have that mindset. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And how was it, Chris, when I said, and what about when we're moving fast? Did that change?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say anything about fast.
Okay, all right.
Too relaxed.
Well, I think we'll have time to revisit that. But the point of me saying that is that it's more, I think it is more challenging to stay fully present when we're in a rush. But I do think that when we're in the practice of, when we've done this kind of practice at a slow pace, or even just sitting the way we started, there's more of a chance that the quality of that can come in when we're having to move fast. And I think the reason why we're having to move fast also makes a difference, but we're upping our odds to have the choice of moving at any pace, and different shapes and sizes, with that quality, if we practice it before we're having to move fast.
I noticed that, especially when we were moving around, that I felt like my heart was more connected to, like I had a physical sensation of that being sort of open, connected to the movement.
Oh, great. That's a nice experience. All right, what about the different distances? Was that interesting or helpful? A different kind of just checking out our whole body with relationship.
Are you talking about extending the eyeballs thing?
Yeah.
I had an interesting awareness. I noticed that when you said expand your eyeballs to your hips, there was a strong inclination for me to tip down, and make it happen, kind of, rather than just
Sense it,
sensing it, yeah.
And what did you do when you noticed that?
Then I kind of went back to my position and lengthening and just tried to expand it. I was sort of, when I was expanding my eyeballs, I was sort of seeing them like turning into like eyeball rays.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So they kind of spread out.
Yeah. The thing that happens when we are in general in our lives, or any different level you want to look at it, when we're going from point A to point B, and without that sensibility of the moments in between, then in order to go from point A to point B, we actually have to leave, and then we're here. And so the relationship of the process, or that distance between, gets lost because we've jumped. We've taken our whole attention and jumped, or on another level, we've jumped out of ourselves to go help someone. And a lot of caring and kind people often do this because empathy and kindness are part of the nature, but sometimes we leave our hearts in order to go out and do some kind of good deed. But if we don't have that relationship, which is what we're practicing with our eyes and seeing all the moments in between and spaces and, a full experience, then who is it or what has arrived at the place of help? We've left something behind, and that's why I'm trying to emphasize the expansion into various relationships. In this case, it was in our body, but it could be on any level that you're looking at that issue. And so I really feel like it's a value to be kinesthetically open and lively in ourselves as we're doing whatever it is that we're doing, including going to help something. We have to bring our full selves along in order for that to be a true offering or a full offering. Yeah.
Can I make another comment?
Sure.
I was thinking about that experience, of like expanding to the part of my body, or instead of jumping there, like you said. And I was thinking, when we just meet someone or see someone, automatically, often in my experience, I can look at it and my brain will analyze, oh, well, there's a wrinkle there and there's a thing here and there's this there, and that there's a disconnect. But if we could walk, with that feeling of connection, expansion of ourselves into the field of the other objects or people, what a, different experience. It would be less dualistic.
Yes.
And less in the mind.
Yes.
And be joining in a different place.
Yes. And it's almost from a pioneer or explorer's mind, where it's curious or, exciting because there's something, more, but it's, as you say, not like narrowing into that. Yeah, that's nice, Priscilla. Anybody else want to comment?
I just noticed how nice it was to just walk without any goal or any needing to go anywhere. I realized that usually if I'm moving in space, if I'm walking, like it's to go somewhere, to do something. And so
Yes.
it's a totally different experience, and it was very pleasant to just roam without a destination in mind.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I don't know whether this would take too long. Let's just try it. It might take a little too long, but is everybody that's here able to get down and lie down on the floor and then get back up in general? Yes. Okay. All right. And if you have to make adjustments to what we're doing, please feel free to do that. So if you can find a place on the floor, if you need to pull out a yoga mat real quick. But I wanted to have this kind of experience basically from on our backs, and then we're going to be getting up from there. Do you want a yoga mat?
Okay, I like the feeling of the cool floor.
Okay.
Are you sure you don't want one for some?
Yeah, no, it feels good.
Okay. So lying on the floor, I'm going to just try to talk us through this so that you don't have to look at the camera. But if if that doesn't work, then I'll demonstrate, but let's try this first. And just noticing with your eyes, your environment now, quite different. And we're going to be semi-supine with our knees up toward the ceiling. So letting your eyes see what you're seeing now from your mind and your brain. You can feel the back of your head touching the floor. So here we're going to just let our eyes see for a moment. Dance around what you see without, that they can see without moving your head. Just the natural range of movement in your eyes and seeing from way deep in there. All right. And now we're going to let our eyes go to the left and let our head follow once your eyes get to the end of their range. And notice the roundness of your skull, able to roll to the left. And then back up. You're going to see shapes and lights and darks. And then to the right. And back. Once more to the left. And as you get over to the left, just let your knees follow that just a bit. And notice how the rest of your body's going to start to move and roll. And then let your right hip come back down into the mat or whatever you're on, and your knees will follow, and then let your eyes sweep, mind in your brain, seeing, and then over to the right, really seeing some more. And when you reach the end of that range, let your knees follow. And the weight of your legs will just let your left hip, it'll just lift your left hip a bit. And then bring your left hip down into the mat, which brings your knees along. And then your shoulder, and then your head and eyes. And at this point, you can choose which direction you want to go, because the next time we go over to the side, we're going to continue that roll. So if there's one side or another that's better, choose that side. So let your eyes go in that direction and lightly looking, seeing, your head's going to follow. And then your knees are going to follow, and let your hip come up and then roll onto your side. And then let's see. I'd like to go back. I want to do another different direction here to make it a little easier. So we're back to neutral. Let your eyes go in their chosen direction. And then your head follows. And when your head gets to where it's about at the end of its range, let's bring the opposite arm up and over our midline. And then reaching out toward the direction that your face is facing. We're gonna let that start to the roll and then let your knees come. So that your hand is gonna be finding the floor as your knees roll over and you roll over to your side. Good. See what you see here, whole different world. And now with that palm on the floor, you're going to press into the floor and come up, bringing your other hand under so that you have both hands and one hip to the side. And you're really thinking long in your torso, your head's going in one direction, your tail's going in the other. And then we're going to lift our hip and come onto all fours. Good. And then whichever leg you feel is the one that you want to stand on, we're going to think about bringing that leg forward. So the other leg, you're going to tuck your toes under that, if you can. And then bring your foot up so that you have one foot on the ground and the other foot's back with your toes tucked under. Good. All right, and then just pressing into that back foot, you're going to come up and take a step toward the front foot. And then you can come up to standing. Seeing what you see. Noticing if you've kind of stopped seeing with an action that's hard. I know I did just then. So this is a good way if you have gotten yourself onto the ground and you feel struggling to get off the ground. This might be one strategy for you to come back up to standing. All right, we're going to come back to our seats, and you know what I'm going to say. Breathing, seeing your nose feathers, your little dogs, bringing you back to your seat. All right. It's close to 11, but do you have any other comments or questions? Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm glad you all came, and
We did give back the merit.
we need to give back the merit. So who wants to start that?
Just a second. Do we have any announcements before we end? Full moon ceremony tonight,
Full moon ceremony tonight.
7 o'clock. Intro to Zen, which none of you need, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. So
so will you repeat? Yeah. May the merit of this practice
May the
merit of this practice
benefit all beings
benefit all beings
and bring peace.
and bring peace.
Not that two people could do it at once in a row.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and please continue seeing between the lines.
Thank you.
Leave the meeting.
on a red button.
Yeah.
I saw, I was touching.
Oh, you left?